Do you know why women who are part of the Me Too movement or the sexual assault culture are also the same women who are attracted to players and bad boys? Well, I used to be one of those women, so I understand this phenomenon very well. I'm Kerry Blaser, reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and today I'm here to explain how and why we attract what we are. And the wisdom that explains that is the universe is a mirror showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self improvement. Knowledge says we attract what we are through energetic resonance, meaning a vibrational match. So, we're going to do a deep dive today into this phenomenon. We're first going to start with two videos from the Whatever podcast showing the same woman be super attracted to a vigilante who killed the CEO of United Healthcare, while at the same time saying, well, me and all these other women have been sexually assaulted. I'm the Me Too movement. I mean, it seems counterintuitive, right? But both problems stem from the same wound. They have wounds that they haven't healed. And so they act in unbalanced ways. So let's start with those two videos, and then we'll do a deeper dive into why that happens physiologically and how we can change that together. Okay, so let me share the first video. And first I'm going to show her sexual attraction, okay? Like this just screams, shows what's really going on here. Okay.
Would you date Luigi Mangione?
Oh yeah.
Closer to the mic?
Yes.
I mean, I'm also not going to cry over a CEO who denies people health insurance getting.
You think he's sitting there going through each claim and saying no, yes, no, yes?
But I mean, he built a system that is doing that to people.
I mean, the system was pre-existing.
But
He had the power, that CEO has the power to make the situation better. And he's instead using the power to make that situation worse.
So
Luigi, he stood on business. And I like a man that can protect and provide.
oh my God, you're psycho.
Yeah,
I
as
think
it
it's
is.
fair to be critical of the healthcare system and the health insurance system in the United States. However, vigilantism and just murking a CEO in the street, completely incompatible with civilized society. Completely incompatible.
Oh.
And you guys are bro, you guys should not be. We should just, honestly, you're a citizen, but we should deport you. Would you date Louis?
So here we have a woman who is attracted to a vigilante who's now in jail. Super attracted, loves it. Oh, he's standing up, right? And Brian points out, well, how is that a civilized society? So in the next clip, and she like still is attracted to this guy, you're going to see how she complains that she doesn't live in a civilized society, but she's attracted to the men who make it uncivilized. Okay. Yeah, a rabbit hole, a loop. That's the mental illness. So let's show this other clip so we can see with our own eyes that this is a common phenomenon. I lived this my whole life, and I'll get into that in a minute.
How many of y'all have been?
We showing hands?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
sure.
like,
I did already. Woohoo!
That's the majority of us. I think every single woman that I have met has experienced some sexual assault in one way or another. And that is a point that I want for contemplation for the men that are watching. Be better and hold your male.
Do you think that Luigi Mangione, who doesn't have enough self-control to stop himself from killing another man in the street, which is completely illegal, would create a safe enough society where rape doesn't happen? I mean, is that logical? Or is she delusional? Or is she not grounded in reality? And why isn't she grounded in reality? Well, that goes back to childhood trauma. Okay, so let's get back to the rest of the clip.
Friends accountable. If somebody's talking about how they coerced a girl or how they are anything like that, stand up and be an activist.
Hold on.
So stand up and be an activist if a woman's getting raped, but a man getting killed in the street? Oh, the guy who killed him, I mean, that's just like he's showing power. He's protecting us.
experience or something.
Wait, hold on. So, like, look, this is an awful crime, and it should be punished severely. However, what you're starting to get into is.
So Brian's going to go into and show that we attract what we are. The men she attracts into her life are dangerous because she likes dangerous men. That's what her body's telling her. Go to these men. I'm going to show you why, physiologically, why her body is lying to her and telling her to go to these men. But Brian makes an excellent point right here.
Culture. And you think that, like, lots of men are, like, kind of cool with it. Most men, if they knew that their buddy did something like that, there's going to be a major issue. Do you think guys are, like, bragging about that shit? If you're in prison, and typically people who are in prison are not, like, the most morally sound people, if they find out that you touched a woman or you touched a child, you're getting fucking killed.
You know, and we all know that to be 100% true, right? So now we have a young woman whose nervous system has been calibrated with fear, guilt, and shame. You know, she's saying she has a lot of cognitive dissonance. She's saying, oh, I love me a bad boy. Oh, I don't want the bad boys. But they're all bad boys. They're all bad. I fear all men, but I love them. I'm attracted to them. It's, you know, there's the delusion. So that stems from childhood trauma when her parents, in the situation she was raised in, calibrated her nervous system to respond to fear, guilt, and shame quickly. Like that's what you want, and just programmed her to respond to fear, guilt, and shame. And since her nervous system was programmed that way, that's what she attracts into her life. We attract what we are. How many women have said, why are all men narcissists? I'm like, okay, girlfriend, the men you attract are narcissists. You're the common denominator here. Like I used to attract, you know, men with multiple women, players, men with mental health challenges. You know, I attracted Andrew Tate in my life, and I didn't know yet that I had a rape wound. I mean, Andrew Tate just speaks volumes, and I helped that man heal from his wounds. That's how I found compassion for myself. Like the universe is a mirror. All the compassion I gave him in solitary confinement, I turned around and gave myself. And I realized that, you know, a lot of things about how Andrew Tate can all help us heal. We'll get back to that at the end. But I kept attracting men with multiple women into my life. And the second to last, I realized, oh my gosh, I have a wound in my soul that I'm replaceable. Okay. So why does it matter that I have a wound in my soul that I'm replaceable? And I'm going to quote Einstein, who said, the field is the sole governing agency of the body. The field meaning the energy field, our souls. Physicists have proven that we all have energy fields, and the particle meaning the body. So if I have a wound in my soul, that's going to control my nervous system. I have a lot of anxiety around men. Then my nervous system kicks in when men are around, and I'm used to that way of kicking in. So I mistake that kind of arousal of my fight or flight system for sexual interest, because my nervous system was calibrated that way as a child. So let's get into the science of that, because I think it's really fascinating. We talk about all the hormones and when they're released and why, so that we can understand that people say, oh, do you have butterflies in your stomach? That's fight or flight, girlfriend. That's not healthy. If a man calms your nervous system, that's healthy. When a woman calms your nervous system, that's healthy. When you're just triggered to action, that's not a healthy nervous system. That's not a regulated, mature nervous system. So let me bring up my ChatGPT screen here. So people can feel attraction during adrenaline because the brain partially confuses arousal with desire. Now, your body can get aroused for fight or flight when all the blood rushes to your arms and your legs. And I used to feel that way in public all the time. I used to be afraid of all men. I feared half the population until 4 years ago. I'm 55 now. And she talks about in that video that she's afraid of all the men, but yet she's sexually attracted to the dangerous men. So you see where that wound is acting in two ways. One, it's telling her fear all men, and then she becomes aroused, like her fight or flight, and she doesn't know the difference between arousal and desire, and arousal and a healthy nervous system. So she mistakes that for sexual attraction. Happens all the time. Okay, so if Andrew Tate triggers you, you probably have a rape wound and I can help you. Okay, my free ebook is below and we'll talk more about that. And I teach a free DIY trauma healing technique, and that's why I give out my free ebook. And that's why at the end of the video, you'll see a meditation and shamanic drumming video you can use to heal yourself from your own trauma. Okay, I also use edibles. I take shrooms when I need to really release a lot of pain, but we can get into that later. Okay, so here's how it works psychologically and neurologically, because I love taking it down to the physiology because this helps the men too. So adrenaline, it arouses the nerve. It's arousal, not desire. It's, oh, I gotta run. It's like the lion coming to me. Oh, arouse me, I gotta run. Okay, that's what it is, but we mistake it for sexual desire, okay, or romantic desire. Adrenaline is released when you experience fear. Why would I choose a man who I'm afraid of? Okay. Excitement, novelty, risk, uncertainty. It causes a faster heartbeat, shallow breathing, heightened attention, increased dopamine, and sharpened memory. Because you want to remember not to get in that situation again. Your body enters a state of high activation. Well, femininity is the surrender. Action is the masculine. So if a woman gets called to act by interacting with a man and not surrender, then that's pulling in her masculine, her ability to protect herself, not her feminine, her ability to surrender to herself. You see, it pulls out the wrong part of the soul, the wrong part of the woman when adrenaline is released when a woman interacts with a man. So the brain labels arousal after the fact. The brain often asks, why do I feel this way? And then assigns a cause based on what's nearby. So if a person is present during adrenaline, the feelings get attached to them. The brain labels the intensity as attraction, mistakenly. Because when our subconscious, our shadow has wounds, it lies to us constantly. Like about 8 years ago, when I was, just right after I started healing from my trauma, I had an argument with my youngest daughter and I needed to apologize. And I was having a really hard time doing it. But by that point, I had figured out how to interact with my soul so I could ask myself, my subconscious, my shadow, my wounds, what's going on? So I did. And this is what I heard. You believe that if you apologize to your loved ones, they will leave you. I'm like, they will leave me? I'm like, that's not logical. That's a wound. Inverted wisdom, not logical. Attracted to a vigilante killer in jail, not logical, right? Okay, so then once I saw that, I turned it into wisdom. If I apologize, my loved ones will want to stay because I'm a healthy human being and everyone makes mistakes, right? I called, I apologized, everything was great. And I didn't have to learn that lesson again. And after that, apologies came out of my mouth much more easily. Okay, so this is called misattribution of arousal, a well-studied effect in psychology. Misattribution, it's wrong, okay? Classic example, people crossing a scary bridge rate someone as more attractive than people on a calm bridge. Maybe they're attracted to them because you think they might be able to help them save their life. Now, in that video, we saw her, oh, he can protect me. She's like on that bridge. Seeing a guy shoot someone, scared of all the other men. Oh, he'll stand up. I'll stand next to him because then he'll protect me from all the other men. Whether he'll rape me or not, she doesn't even think about. It's like a split-second decision. It's short-term thinking. There's no long-term thought into why am I sexually attracted to a killer, a vigilante who's now going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Oh, yeah, a lot of women write letters to men in prison, especially killers and rapists, and send them naked pictures and then want to marry them. We'll have a video from Joe Rogan in a minute about that, okay? It's like, whoa, I know people like that, okay? I've met women like that, women who had, extreme sexual trauma as a child, like trauma that her dad repeatedly raped her, her mom held her down, and she would listen to crime shows constantly because we attract what we are, and she hadn't processed her trauma. So the attraction to the crime shows is showing her herself. Adrenaline increases dopamine, the bonding chemical. Adrenaline stimulates dopamine pathways, creates motivation, heightens focus, produces craving, reinforces memory. I mean, that all sounds pretty smart for the body to do if I'm releasing adrenaline in a healthy, fearful situation, like a lion is approaching me or someone has a gun and is trying to get me. But using this and mistaking it for sexual attraction would make it more likely for women to get raped, not less likely, right? And that was my situation. I was raped as a child in high school, and then I attracted other men into my life who sexually who had that tendency. I got sexually assaulted in college, took a hand down my pants and scratched me up really badly, and gave me an STD. And but I went back and had sex with him. I gave him the STD back. He put his hands in his mouth and gave me herpes. Herpes simplex 1. I don't have anymore. But yeah. And I repressed that so much. I went and had sex with him as if that were safe. And then he got it. Now, I didn't think, oh, I'm going to give it to him. But I knew something wasn't right down there. I wasn't, I was putting, attention before safety. And that's not healthy. That's mentally ill, especially for a woman. Okay, so let's go down for the evolutionary reason. That in early human environments, danger meant survival was at stake. Bonding during high-risk moments increased reproduction and protection. Bond, bond, bond. Together, together, okay? You give the man sex, maybe, more likely to protect you, okay? Women surrender for protection, like Stockholm Syndrome. In Stockholm Syndrome, women are much more likely to get that because they start caring for the provider, and then the provider opens his heart to her. That creates a lot of opportunities to escape, that he puts his guard down, that he treats her better. And so it's a survival technique that women use. Okay? It's not really a man's thing, because a man surrendering, it's not the same. Trauma can amplify this effect. For people with trauma, the nervous system is already hyper alert. Okay? So like I was in public. I used to go out in public and I was nervous all the time. The day after I saw my wound that fear all men, I turned it into men protect me. I visited my older daughter in public. She was doing markets at the time, selling jewelry, and she noticed immediately, Mom, what's different? What's different? I'm like, oh, and I told her, said, oh, great. And I walked around. I'm like, oh, it was like a whole new world. I felt safe in public and half of the people were men. And the only person that changed was me, not them. I changed. So my environment changed. We attract what we are to see ourselves for self-improvement opportunities. And that was a huge opportunity for me for self-improvement. And I took it, and I'm, much better off for it. So for people with trauma, the nervous system is already hyper alert. Calm can feel unfamiliar or unsafe. We attract what we are. So when your nervous system is calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, that's what you attract to show you yourself. Now, I didn't know that for most of my life until I learned that over the past 10 years, but that's really helpful wisdom, right? Intensity feels like connection. It's like we revert back to when we weren't emotionally mature as humans and we haven't expanded our emotional range, and we just react, bond, react. Okay? Like we were saying, like caveman days. So adrenaline becomes a shortcut to feeling alive, feeling bonded, and feeling seen. That sounds like addiction to me, especially sex addiction. And I attracted, Andrew Tate into my life via personal relationship with his best friend, Justin Waller, 2 months before Andrew's takedown started in August of 2022. Then I helped Andrew in solitary confinement, but at that point, I was already talking to my next guy. I didn't go on a date with any of these guys. Was the first of 2 decorated fire academy instructors. So Andrew Tate was warm up for the fire department. And those men led me back to my guy from my childhood, JC, who is former FBI, currently the head of global security at GoDaddy. BDSM.com is registered at GoDaddy. Just throwing some things out there. When you put men in a lineup with Andrew Tate, picture speaks, volumes, 1,000 words or more. I don't have to say much after that. And I did call the police on JC about 4 months ago to finally report what I believe happened 40 years ago. So there's still a lot of healing going on between us. This is why chaotic relationships feel magnetic. Well, that's all you know. We attract what's familiar. We attract what we are. So for me, narcissistic men with a sex addiction who are highly avoided, that's what I knew. And I, repressed my sexuality and was super anxious. So that's the direct opposite. Perfect opportunity to trigger our wounds to the surface and heal, because triggers are our healing friend and not our healing foe. So if Andrew Tate triggers you, that's probably showing you have a rape wound. You have a wound that you're replaceable and you need to heal from your childhood trauma. And my free ebook below can help you do that. So this is why. So they feel magnetic. Calm partners can feel boring. How many women complain about men are boring? Oh, those men aren't triggering their fear, guilt, and shame, which is typical and normal for them. So those are boring men. That's the mental illness, okay? That was me. Danger feels like love. That's a wound. Inverted wisdom, like we already went over. It's not romantic destiny, it's conditioning. Your nervous system was calibrated to resonate at those lower frequencies, leading you to your demise. But I was like that. But when I turned my wounds into wisdom and now I experience enlightenment all the time, I'm not out there attracting all these men into my life. So, okay. Healthy versus unhealthy attraction. Adrenaline-based attraction is intense. Secure attraction, steady. It's consistent. Adrenaline, fast. Secure, slow. Adrenaline, addictive. Secure, grounded. Adrenaline, anxious. Secure, safe. Adrenaline, unstable. Secure, consistent. So we can see that woman in the video with the long blonde hair, she's over here. She's over here under adrenaline. I mean, now I'm over here under secure. I've been talking to JC's soul now for a little over a year and a half. I reached out to him for the first time in 40 years in November of 2024, and that ignited a huge healing event between the two of us. And that's how intense our trauma is. Okay, so let's go down to the one sentence summary, and then we're going to get to that Joe Rogan video and some more discussion. People feel attraction during adrenaline because the brain mislabels heightened psychological arousal as romantic desire, chemically reinforcing whoever is present at that moment. Love the one you're with. Casual sex, sexual promiscuity, porn addictions, all explained right here. So anyway, but this is still, let me stop sharing. Okay, so I used to have a roommate that, like I told you, she was, severely raped as a child, her parents, and then she engaged in some pedophilia. She would watch the crime shows all the time. And this Joe Rogan episode gets into women doing that and how women write to criminals and what's going on. So I thought that, it's an interesting episode. Let's watch it so we can see how pronounced this phenomenon is amongst women. And the only way for women to get out of it is for them to heal their emotional wounds. So this whole rape culture exists because women have wounds and men have wounds, and we attract what we are. So if you have those wounds, like me, I attracted Andrew Tate into my life. So I could see myself for self-improvement opportunities. But let's get back to Joe Rogan here, because it's a really great episode. Here we go. Okay.
Do you ever do a demographic breakdown of who watched? Like, does Netflix have a demographic breakdown of who watches those crime shows? Because it's mostly women, isn't it?
Anecdotally, that's what everybody says. There was a funny bit on Saturday Night Live the other night that was like, what do ladies do when they're home alone? Wait, and then they like throw on the murder shows.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. And when we were making Night Stalker, we would get to the point in the interview where it's finally, I would ask everybody, like, okay, so for some reason or another, this guy becomes like the Jim Morrison of serial killers, because like when he's paraded through the courtroom, all of a sudden he's got these like groupies and fans, and they're sending him. And I had gotten access to all of the like naked pictures that the girls are sending in, because this author had written a book about him, had all this stuff. And I was like, and you always have to kind of ask that awkward question of like, so why does this guy become this sort of crazy sex symbol object of desire, obscure object of desire? And it's always like kind of an, particularly with the, you know, the women who are being interviewed, but everybody. And nobody quite has an answer. Is it the bad boy thing? Is it the celebrity thing? But this is somebody that, like, you know, I think as one of the people said, this is somebody that would eat you for dinner, not like, you know, there's no, it's craziness to have any attraction.
I mean, men are designed to provide and protect. So, if a man would eat you for dinner and you're sexually attracted to them, that sounds like a wound. That sounds like inverted wisdom to me because, most women are less strong than men. I mean, did a study that 99% of men are, okay, I can't quote the study right now. Let's get back to it. I forgot it.
To it, but yet it exists. You know, this guy has like groupies and fans.
And it's very common for murderers to get,
Hugely
especially
common.
murderers of women, to get all these propositions from women.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Super strange.
And, I read something about that. No, Whitney Cummings was actually telling me about this. She said she read that it was something that had to do with, there was like an evolutionary benefit to getting close to killers. Like that, I think this is theoretical.
In what regard?
That the idea of it's very hard to kill someone.
Once you have like human personal contact? Is that what you're saying?
No, that the act of killing someone, that it's difficult to do, and that it requires like someone who is to be capable of taking another person's life. And to be close to that person means somehow or another you're protected by them, and that they're willing to kill, and that this is like something that existed thousands and thousands of years ago in our DNA, this desire to be close to killers because you were more likely to survive because there were so many killers. Like if you went back in time, a few thousand years ago, murder must have been like really common. Like when people were sword fighting all the time and
dude, there's a
stabbing
crazy book on this. Steven
Yeah?
Pinker wrote this book called The Better Angels of Our Nature. And what he does is he tracks over time kind of the nature of violence in humanity.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, once upon a time, there's Cain and Abel, and Cain kills Abel. Like the murder rate is like 50%. So actually, we've been trending up ever since then. And like it literally looks at how, over time, the incidence of like violence has actually, even though it doesn't seem like that, dramatically decreased in humanity.
It does seem like that. I think we just focus on the instances of violence because we have mass media.
Right.
And because
it's fascinating.
Yeah. And if it bleeds, it leads. So there's
but why is that? Like that's something that, making The Night Stalker or even making
And the reason that is because our nervous systems have been programmed for fear, guilt, and shame. And Christianity, along with Islam and Judaism as well, have all really participated in that. When you create an external God that's punishing, then you're the servant and you're afraid. He's a God-fearing person. He's a good person. He fears God. He lives in fear all day long, making him reactive, more likely to kill, rape, and be abusive. We know that now because of psychology.
Silk Road, it's like, why are we fascinated by the underworld? The sort of like the worst things that people do to each other. Like, what is it? And I'm.
So I'm going to stop, but we attract what we are so that we can see ourselves, so we understand ourselves, so we can see, oh, I have some wounds inside of me. I need to figure that out. Okay. So, it's a hard thing to have been raped and then accept that my soul had a wound in it and I attracted rape into my life so I could see that wound. That's a lot to accept, and that is why it's taken me 10 years to heal from my childhood trauma and recalibrate my nervous system to align with love, compassion, and enlightenment so I can experience calm. So I can sleep well, which I do now. So I'm not scared to go out in public. So when I finally get to talk to JC, after all this healing between us, we will be emotionally regulated people. Last time I saw him in high school, he was ASB president, but he was, jumping on people, running around, multiple sports. Like, he was friggin' everywhere. And I wouldn't let him talk to me because I was terrified of him. And I didn't know why, but we have some trauma in elementary school that I didn't remember at that time. And, he was not grounded in a lot of ways. And only when I would keep him away from me and see him stare at me would I kind of feel better and get a little happy. But I couldn't even let him near me because I was so afraid. But I repressed that because I didn't even remember him for most of my life until the last couple of years. That's how painful it was for me. But all of those wounds were driving my behaviors from my subconscious. My inability to apologize, my inability to forgive. I was so busy protecting myself, my masculine, I didn't know how to go in my feminine. Because for a woman to be able to go into her feminine, she needs to feel safe. But if her subconscious, her nervous system is constantly running fear, 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 how can I feel safe? And yeah, it's very hard. But I think I have another video to share here, but let me see if no, I think I got all the videos that I wanted to share. Okay. Well, I got all the videos that I wanted to share. Well, why don't we end it there? But let me just remind you, if you are attracting in men who are not treating you well, please use my free ebook below. You attract what you are through energetic resonance. Okay. So the wounds in your soul are attracted to the wounds in his soul so that you can see yourself for self-improvement opportunities. Like when I noticed that I had that wound that I was replaceable, I spent 2 days crying in my bed. I turned it into wisdom, and I'm not attracting players into my life anymore. Okay, so please check out the free ebook. Check out my meditation shamanic drumming video. I do have client services, but I don't have a lot of time. So I'm hoping that most people will be helped by my free ebook and the free meditation shamanic drumming video. But do reach out if you have any questions or schedule a session if you'd like one. But my website does have some more resources. I will be hopefully updating it soon. All right, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Take care. Bye.